Good morning and welcome everyone. We're just going to wait while all the participants enter and we'll get started shortly. Okay, welcome everyone to the annual Reference and Information Services Group seminar. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting today, and I would like to pay my respects to the people, the culture and the elders past and present. If you'd like to say hello, please do it in the chat. Just say your name, hello, and the library service you're representing today. Okay, so the Reference Information Services Group are pleased to welcome Heather Ford today to speak. Heather Ford is a professor at the University of Technology, Sydney, and she is here today to talk about AI and libraries with a focus on the making of misbehaving machines. At the end of Heather's talk, there will be an opportunity for questions, and I would like to hand the floor over to Heather and welcome on this beautiful day. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It is so lovely to be here. I am super excited about sharing the work that I have been doing with librarians in Greater Sydney and other researchers at UTS and with a number of partners who I will introduce a bit later. So I just wanted to begin by acknowledging that this research was produced on Gadigal land of the Eora Nation and recognize the traditional custodians of land as the true custodians of knowledge in this place. Today, I'm going to be talking about our take on AI literacy, something we hear about a lot these days, something that's recognized as really important, but really a lot of questions still about what kind of AI literacy and what really AI literacy means for librarians working in countries like Australia today. So, what I'm going to do at the end of this talk is to ask you for your own ideas or experiences of AI in the library. So you can see there that I have a code on Mentimeter, which is a little app where we can share our own ideas and stories about AI in the library. So all you have to do is go to menti.com and then put this code in, the code that you'll see at the top, 281240004, and only share if you're okay with sharing publicly. So if you've seen something interesting or freaky or troubling with AI results, for example, something I'll talk about today, when you've been using AI tools, or something interesting that happened when you were using AI, or something interesting that happened when you were talking to your clients about AI. And we'll talk about that at the end of the talk. So there is no doubt that generative AI tools like ChatGPT are proving really useful for information search and discovery tasks. If you've started to use generative AI tools like ChatGPT, you'll have recognized how generative AI can summarize and explain complex, lengthy texts. Some tools can help you formulate better queries. They can help curate structured lists and can generate metadata and can really help you explore new domains that you don't know much about and can do that in a conversational form. So there's definitely usefulness when it comes to generative AI tools like ChatGPT. Now, the interesting thing about generative AI models is they sound really, really convincing. But as we've seen in the last few years, in which tools like ChatGPT have become really present in so many domains, is that they make errors. Errors often become newsworthy when they are obviously wrong, or when they are less obvious and people unwittingly propagate them. So we have two different kinds of news stories that I'll share with you today. So the first are really obviously wrong answers to queries. These errors are very obvious. So in one interesting news story, Google's AI overviews responded to the query, how can I make my cheese not slide off my pizza? With the answer, add some glue. Mix about 1/8 of a cup of Elmer's glue in with the sauce. Non-toxic glue will work. Another interesting error that made headlines was that Google's AI overviews again responded to the query, how many rocks should a child eat? By falsely claiming that UC Berkeley geologists recommend eating at least one small rock per day. Now, those are really obvious errors that reach the news headlines because they are so obviously wrong, and we can poke fun at the model and how it's working. But there are others that are less obviously wrong and actually can cause harm. So in one really interesting example that's closer to home, ChatGPT falsely named Brian Hood, who's the mayor of a Victorian town, as a guilty party in a foreign bribery scandal when he was actually the whistleblower. And this resulted in Brian Hood starting a legal challenge, which he actually withdrew eventually from OpenAI. In another local example, a group of academics apologized that their submission to an Australian Senate committee included case studies of wrongdoing by consulting firms that were produced by Google Bard and not fact-checked. So this was a really embarrassing example for academics who had to complain, and really serious questions about the progress of our democracy when this information was introduced to a Senate committee where policy was being made. Why do we have errors? Why do AI models produce errors? Well, in some cases, we have errors because of training data biases or gaps. So in the case of how can I make my cheese not slide off my pizza, that probably came from a Reddit post where someone ironically made a joke about how to respond to this question. And in the case of the small rock, this probably came from The Onion, which is recognized as a spoof site. So in its context, we really understand that this is a joke, but the AI does not understand what is a joke, what is ironic, and it's responding to, it's collecting all of this data as if it had the same valence as another. We can also see errors due to what is often called hallucinations. So in this case, we had an error where the model really was just hallucinating. It was getting it mixed up, the facts about the case. And in this case as well, the model often will hallucinate case studies. It will make up stories or cases based on the kinds of materials that it is reading. Now, what we know a few years after the public release of ChatGPT is that AI errors, or sometimes called incidents, can cause harm. And that what is starting to happen is in some computer science classes and data science classes, they're starting to use AI incident databases and AI error databases, of which we have a few in the public domain right now. The OECD has one. We have this AI incident database, and there are a couple others that are really being used to try and better understand what the ethical implications of AI are. And what I'm going to argue today is that they actually help us understand AI and how it works better. It's not only for understanding AI ethics. It's really, errors are really useful for understanding how AI actually works. Now, one of the things that I hope that people learn when they look at AI errors is that they demonstrate a really critical weakness of generative AI systems that will never improve over time, because they are a key feature of the way that generative AI systems work. And that is that they are, in Nochi Maris's terms, truthless by design, where truth is irrelevant, where they're not actually paying attention to the truth value of any statement. Now, the way that I'm going to explain how this works is we're going to play the game Guess the Next Word. And apologies if you've already seen me talking about this game, but this is a really good way of explaining how AI systems work and how they might make errors. It's a useful little game to play with your clients if they want to learn how AI works. So in this game of guessing the next word, we want to imagine an AI who's gone into a library and read all the books there are to read and all the papers that there are to read, and will help us to guess the next word. So when they're guessing the next word, they're going to compute what the next word will be. And they're doing this using probability. So in this example, the AI model computes. We'd have hot as probably one of the most likely scenarios based on what it has read before. Cold, slightly less likely. Delicious, 65% in this fictional case likely. And purple, probably not so likely. Now, in another example, we can see the statement, the bank is full of, and we're getting the AI to guess the next word. So the AI might compute in the same way that money scores high in our probability game. People might score almost as high, and tellers might score high as well. But actually, what I meant when I was asking that question was that I was talking about a riverbank full of flowers. And so the AI might get that wrong. So in these examples, you can see that the AI is not checking or verifying against any statements of truth. It is not evaluating one source above another generally. It really is working on the probability that one token will follow another. Token is another word for a text. Now, what's really interesting about when we're thinking about and talking about AI errors is that according to AI pundits, errors are just glitches, right? on the way to progress. AIs are getting better. They're getting better all the time. We won't have the errors that we have. They're just getting better and better as they get more and more data. Errors are also seen as unavoidable in systems because they're permanently in beta. So we permanently are working on them to improve them, according to AI pundits. Errors, according to many of the companies that are producing AI, can be fixed, and systems can be debiased. Now, usually when we look at these examples or case studies of error, humans are usually to blame. And usually when we hear about these grave errors, the ones that cause harm, what's actually happening is the nearest human operator, according to this really great paper by Elish in 2019, where she says that usually when we encounter these cases where errors have caused harm, the system is rarely blamed, and those who produce the system are rarely blamed, but the person who's nearest to the system. The lawyer, for example, in the United States, when ChatGPT was in its earliest days, who used the ChatGPT in his materials to the court, and actually was found to be producing really fake materials and submitting them to the court, and who was really lambasted in the press. Actually, what we see when we look at AI errors and how AI works is that AI errors are a feature and they're not a glitch. So progress is not inevitable. Glitches are really, or errors are permanent when systems are released consistently in beta. They often need motivation to be fixed. Not every error will be fixed. And there are questions about whether errors can be fixed at all. And systems can never be debiased, especially automation bias, because they are a feature of the systems themselves. There will always be bias within these systems. And what they really require is system accountability, so that when there are errors, that the systems are accountable for those errors. Now, recognizing AI errors as a feature of automation and generative AI starts a whole lot of new questions, right? Some of which have been asked by some really wonderful academics who are studying error in AI and other systems. People like Mike Anani, who say that who has the power to determine when failure or error has occurred? Not everyone does, right? How many errors should we tolerate? How should errors be distributed? Who is accountable for those errors? And the headline here is that for the public, diagnosing failures when we read about these errors in the press is a way of understanding the limits of AI. And in this understanding lies our power to really shape the way that AI can be. I'm just going to pause here to remind you, if you've seen anything troubling or freaky about AI in the library, something interesting, some AI errors that you've encountered, you can share them at menti.com. And don't forget, only share if you're okay with sharing publicly. So in this next part of my talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we took this idea of AI models and the errors that they produced to experiment with teaching and learning about AI literacy in the library. Now, as I'm explaining the the way that we positioned this project, in which a couple of members actually, who might even be on the call today, participated, I just want to talk to you a little bit about two different ideas about AI literacy that are really circulating in the public domain and in academic circles right now. The very dominant narrative about AI literacy is that we need AI literacy in order to anticipate changes, in the words of UNESCO in 2019. This was even before ChatGPT was launched. Equipping today's workers and preparing new generations with the necessary technical and social job skills to smooth the transition to a world dominated by AI. So this kind of rhetoric around AI literacy and why we need AI literacy is really about has all these underlying narratives. So one of the big narratives here is that it is inevitable that we have AI everywhere, that AI is going to dominate, right? And that what we need to do in this particular vision of the future in which AI is dominant is to try and get people to learn how to use AI in order for them to be able to deal better with this future. It is a very particular understanding of what the future will look like. Now, when people were talking first about generative AI, when it first came on the scene, when OpenAI released publicly ChatGPT, there was this immediate reaction by some about the risks that AI presents. So that we're thinking back here a couple of years, was it 2021, I think, when ChatGPT was launched. So we had this really interesting public letter. Don't know if some of you might have seen it. This is 2023. So sorry, I think it was 2022 actually when ChatGPT was launched. And people started looking at ChatGPT and other OpenAI products and really thinking that there was something really freaky in those words about AI, that it was really, really good, they thought. And that a number of people, including Elon Musk, warned about an out-of-control race to develop and deploy ever more powerful AI. And this is a quote from that letter where they wrote that contemporary AI systems are now becoming human competitive at general tasks. And we must ask ourselves, should we develop non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, obsolete, and replace us? So in this scenario, AI presents risks. But what are the risks here? The one risk is that the dominant risk here is that AI is so good and so powerful that it will outsmart and replace humans because the technology has advanced so significantly. Now, if you ask a lot of your clients, I talk to people all the time about AI, and what they have an enormous fear of AI. And I think a lot of this fear is really driven by this narrative of all-powerful AI. So in Australia, we have pretty low levels of trust in AI. We have, in this latest study that was done by KPMG and the University of Queensland, about 66% were unwilling to trust AI or who were unsure. And a lot of it is about this scenario that I introduced you with, where AI is impossible to understand because it's presented as so superhuman, and so good that it's impossible to understand how it works. And that AI is exponentially improving towards what some people call general artificial intelligence, or, even beyond that, towards perfect accuracy. In this scenario, it possesses a mind. We saw that word, that it's inevitable, and that it's potentially replacing humans because of its supreme abilities. Now, in the context of that big narrative, that dominant narrative that we saw and that we see a lot of today, where people feel really afraid, and they feel afraid because there is this dominant AI. AI literacy is often seen as the antidote to this kind of skepticism and mistrust of AI. And the theory goes that people just need to know how AI works in order to trust it. And that the goal of AI literacy is to serve this future labor market, to prepare for an inevitable future in which AI is everywhere. But the way that we are thinking about AI literacy, which is more in keeping with those, especially in Scandinavia, who are thinking about critical AI literacy, which emphasizes not just our passive, not just how to use AI, but more of a kind of proactive questioning the systems themselves, not just passively learning how to use them effectively. In other words, we need to learn how and why AI systems don't work in order to learn how they work. And that this is really a crucial addition to the ways in which we are learning and teaching about AI. Now, this was a lovely project that we worked on last year that we are currently writing up. And those results should be available pretty soon. We'll be asking questions about the effectiveness of the pilot, but we ran a pilot last year, working initially with the Australian Library and Information Association, New South Wales Public Library Association, State Library of New South Wales, and then involving 4 pilot libraries, 2 from the education sector, TAFE New South Wales and UTS, and 2 from the public library sector in Greater Sydney, City of Parramatta and Sydney of Sydney. This is my wonderful research team, who have worked with me on the project from both the design faculty and from the School of Communications, where I am hosted, including Andrew Burrell, Sunil Jathani, Monica Monin, and Bhuva Narayan. And what we did was we worked with a group of wonderful librarians to develop an exhibit which would teach people about some of the features of generative AI, and encourage them to think more critically about their use of generative AI. But the whole project was actually a kind of learning by teaching project where librarians themselves learned from one another about how generative AI works. Some of them had never encountered or never used generative AI before. Some of them were pretty proficient users already. And we worked together to learn more about generative AI in order to produce this exhibit. We started out with interviews, learning how AI was being used in the 4 participating libraries, to understand how librarians were currently supporting information seeking and how they were using AI as well. And so we're looking at what the transition looks like for librarians who have always supported information search and discovery as one of their core features. But how does AI enter this scenario and and help to improve, but also upend a lot of what they've been teaching and learning. We did 2 participatory design workshops in June and September, and we did 4 exhibitions of the making of misbehaving machines in November, December at those 4 participating libraries. And really what this project did was it was an experiment in using AI era as a learning technique in the library. And the hypothesis here was really we can learn about how AI works by understanding when and why it doesn't work. And so you can go and visit misbehavingmachines.net to have a look at some of the photos from the exhibit and some of the resources, which we are really going to be updating a lot actually in the next few months. You can see a little bit of the misbehaving machine there, and you can learn how it worked. But here we have some photos where I can show you what the exhibit looked like. So we had this misbehaving machine, and the way that the machine works was what we did was, as a group, we developed a couple of data sets that the model would learn from. And one included a data set of all the questions that one could imagine an AI model would be able to answer on a spectrum from easily being able to answer to impossible for an AI to answer. So we developed that kind of spectrum of questions. And then we also developed a series of answers and a series of prompts. So from behaving all the way to very misbehaving. So we could have a behaving prompt could be something like, please answer with references. A misbehaving prompt could be something like, please answer as if you were a pirate or as if you were Donald Trump, or only by using words with the letter B. And so we had this really, and then we developed an interesting algorithm which would determine how those questions were answered according to what we called an uncertainty factor, where it would use different weightings according to where these questions and prompts and answers were in the spectrum. And then we asked people to submit their own questions, and we invited questions, and we asked people to submit questions that they imagined the machine may not be able to answer, and we asked them why they thought the machine wouldn't be able to answer their questions. And those questions, ideally in the future, in our second version, will actually go to the model, and people will be able to see their questions coming up and being answered in really interesting ways. So this is the TAFE New South Wales exhibit, where students came in classes to learn more about how generative AI works. We had an exhibit on upstairs at the Parramatta City Library, where people engaged with the exhibit. We had one at Green Squares Library. You can see there the little all the posters and these little things that people could take away to learn more about misbehaving machines. And then we had the exhibit at UTS during one of the public events. So in 2025, we're hoping to do a second version of the exhibit. So if you're interested in participating, please can you send me an email? we're hoping to really learn from what we learned in 2024. And that's actually, we've learned a lot about how to do this better, how to improve learning for the librarians who were involved and for others who are visiting the exhibit. We're also doing a research project where we are trying to understand what should Australian librarians know about AI. And my own interest really is in public libraries, but we also are looking at both public libraries and educational libraries or academic libraries, and trying to understand what Australian librarians need to know beyond just what they need to teach in information literacy. There's a lot of things that are happening around procurements, new kinds of services, AI services that are being bundled in to existing databases and software and services that librarians use and buy from third-party providers. That makes it really, really useful for librarians to understand how AI works and where it's working and what kinds of issues that are being affected by their use of AI. I also have been cataloging AI errors, and I would like to make that public, that catalog of AI errors. And I'm particularly interested in local errors, as local as you want, including errors about yourself when you use generative AI. And so I'm really, really excited to hear from you if you are interested in any of those things. We should have a mailing list starting in the next couple of months where we will release new information as it becomes available, but that's not ready yet. So in the meantime, please feel free to email me. Here are some references, which I will also provide, and you can add them to the wiki. These are all really, really interesting articles about generative AI that I cited in my talk. And now what I'd like to do is to go to my Mentimeter, and then we can move on to questions after we've looked through Mentimeter together. First, I'm going to move, sorry, this out the way so that the okay, well, this refuse, oh no, then I can remove it. Okay, great. Okay, this is so exciting. So these are some of the things that people are looking at, are recognizing in the library, which is super helpful. So AI written publications available to purchase on Amazon. Yes, I've heard of this being a really difficult problem. That it's very hard to actually identify what is written by AI when you're trying to make purchases on Amazon. Very Eurocentric and cis male stereotype oriented. Yes, we are going to have some research out pretty soon where we ask questions of AI models about Australians, and this is definitely one of the big findings there too. Library staff are not allowed to use it, which is troubling. People feeling like they're left behind. Someone asked for more information on a topic. I searched, but the information was nowhere to be found. although it looked legit. The reader admitted that she found the information via AI. Yes, so this was one of the big findings of the research that we are going to publish really soon. And that we have these phantom sources that are coming up, and librarians don't know where to find them. And it turns out that the AI has actually made them up, and there's a lot of lost time. And these kind of fake references are actually causing a lot of trouble in the library. Job applications written by AI, being a problem, emerging artists not being compensated. Yes, the copyright issue is really difficult. Concerns about writing competitions. Did the person submitting this really write the work themselves? Yes, causing a lot of extra work. I always think that it's very funny that people, that there's this narrative that we're going to lose work, that AIs are going to put us out of a job. There's so many cases where it's actually just causing more work for us, the humans who have to fix all the problems. Advice about appropriate feeding formula types or babies being completely wrong. Oh, that's really interesting and troubling. So an average person wouldn't have known. So people aren't getting advice about health issues. Generative AI only available in certain language. That's really interesting. And definitely a big problem. Uh, Audible starting to do AI narration and AI translation. Translation is such a sensitive process. This is alarming. Yes, there's a lot of a huge difference between AI translation and translation by humans, for sure. Have used AI for writing part of journal articles, does not improve the quality. Yes, a lot of us are trying to work this out, and recognizing even synthesis and summarizing, which I think a lot of people take for granted about AI, doesn't work very well. Actually, the Mentimeter asked me if I wanted AI to summarize what you were saying here, and I chose not to because the synthesis does actually level over a lot of the really important nuance that we see when we're looking at information. Feminist professors knowing potential sources of lived experiences, didn't mention what was being claimed. Cross-checking, also couldn't find the quotations the AI claimed was from specific sources. Yes. That's really interesting. I'd like to hear more about that first part of that. But yes, definitely seeing that. Okay, I actually wanted to test this. Okay, so let's group the responses. I can press space. Oh, it's not available. Okay, that's fine. That's really, really interesting. Thank you so much for your shares. And I'm really, really looking forward to your questions. So I'm going to hand over to Michelle, who I think will facilitate questions, or I can look at them in the chat.
Yep. Wonderful, Heather. Thank you so much. Yes, so we're now open for questions. If anyone has any questions, if you'd like to put them in the chat, would be great. I must say that first example you gave of AI, it sounded like they were playing Family Feud.
So it's a good one. It's a good
We've
one.
asked 100 people and these are the top answers.
Yes, I think I've looked at so you're talking about the pizza one.
Yeah, well, no, the coffee is hot or cold or purple.
Oh, yes. Yes. I've never actually played Family Feud, so I'm trying to
Um, I've
look.
seen it on TV and they ask the question, they say they've surveyed 100 or so many
Oh,
respondents and these are the top 100 answers and that, and the people have to try and guess them.
yes. Oh, very interesting.
Okay, we have a question in question and answers. Oh, a person is asking if the slide, you'll be able to share the slide with links from your research
Of course,
after this.
definitely. I'm happy to do that. Yes.
Thank you. A question from Andrew, Heather.
Mhm.
Where do you see the current Meta AI court case going in terms of copyright and fair use for authors, if you're on top of it?
I'm not on top of it at all. Um, all I am is hopeful. I mean, weirdly, my copyright used to be my life. I used to work for in free and open source software and with um, Creative Commons, and so I've been quite disappointed actually with the open source movement and Creative Commons in particular, and how they've responded to um, AI companies. And have not really opposed what's happening. But yes, I'm not on top of it, but I'd love to know more.
Mm, yes, it does sound interesting. A question from Rochelle. As there continues to be a major issue with AI basically not being able to admit it doesn't know the answer,
Mhm.
is that why it gives out the garbage sometimes, or is it still more a function of the training of the models?
Um, okay. I think there's a couple of different questions in there, and all of them are really
Mm,
good questions. So the first issue is that the AI will rarely admit that it doesn't know. So we actually did a study a couple of years ago that's being updated now, where when we asked questions not only of AIs, we started in 2022, just before ChatGPT was publicly launched, and we asked search engines, we asked Alexa, and we asked Siri questions, factual questions about Australian people, individuals in this case. And even though they could have answered that they weren't sure, because again, everything that they're working out is according to probability. And so in some cases, especially in the way that question answering machines used to work, they could have said that they were unsure, but rarely did they say that they were unsure. And this is the kind of thing that we are looking at when we look at ethically designed question and answering machines, as I like to call them, because how they ethically should answer questions is that they are not sure, right? And that sometimes they're less sure than in other times. And that they should give more signals about their uncertainty, because there is always uncertainty in relation to the models. Instead, what do we have? We have models that give us answers where they look absolutely sure. They look absolutely certain. There is their tone, the way that they address the user is generally with a very high degree of certainty. And so this is what people some have recognized as being the big problem. The big problem is not so much that they make errors, because errors we have errors wherever we look at information sources. The big problem is that they pretend to be so certain, and that they hide the fact that they could cause errors. So yes, a couple of things. The first is that yes, they are based, everything that they produce is based on training data. All training data has biases. There are major gaps in that training data. And there are also errors that creep in that have nothing to do with the training data, but just are what are called hallucinations, because they're not verifying the truth.
mhm.
So the second part of, oh no, I think
Yeah,
that answers that question. Yeah.
yeah, I think so. Rachel's just asking, do you have any videos of the screenshots the AI project held at the libraries to see so people can see what was on the screen and how it worked
Yes, I think it's
on the website?
on the website, but if it isn't, please send me an email and I will send it, because that should be on the website. But yeah,
Okay.
I'll get that.
And have you come across any organizations that facilitate knowledge building AI for example, AI targeted to the general public, how to use AI better and interpret AI responses critically. Have you seen any organizations that are facilitating that?
Well, what we have been looking at are library organizations' responses. And so there's IFLA actually has a really nice uh, web page where you can find some really good resources. And I can send that when I send the list of references. And so I would actually look to library organizations because they are the ones that are doing the best critical work on how to teach AI literacy in a critical way. And as I say, it's something that we're actually doing at the moment is just trying to develop a curated list of who's doing work in this space.
Wonderful. There's another one in the chat. It's quite long from Andrew, which is much of the time, AI tools produce errors, whether factual inaccuracies or overly generic responses. It seems to be less about wrongness in the traditional sense and more about the lack of specificity, sorry, or context. From your perspective, Heather, are these errors primarily due to limitations in the data, the design of the large language models, or the way that we prompt them? And how can we help users better understand and navigate this ambiguity?
Yes, Andrew, that's a really good question. That there's lots of different kinds of errors, right? And uh, when I was talking, I was also talking about errors and incidents. I think um, it's really true that the errors are happening for different reasons. I don't really, to me, um, it doesn't matter so much about working out like uh, where most of the fault lies. I think it's really important to think about it as a system in which there are weaknesses in lots of different parts of the system. Of course, we can prompt systems better. Yes, we can. We can prompt systems. We can develop prompts that are much more specific, that are developed with an understanding of how the system works. Um, we also, sorry, I was you were talking about how the what data is used for training data. And yes, of course, errors creep in just in relation to training data. So we can improve training data there. But there's a lot of weaknesses in the system, and a user will never ever be able to solve all the problems just by being able to prompt better, right? Because even if you prompt using perfect prompts, for example, ChatGPT will never give you a good list of references. It will never be able to tell you exactly where it got its sources from. So some of these problems, not all of the problems can be solved simply by users, for example. So it is a problem to do with the whole system.
Wonderful. Um, we're coming up close to time, Heather. We're at 11:23, I think.
Okay.
Um, and Caitlin's just mentioned that Good Things Australia has a introductory course for the general public on AI, which might be good for everyone to have a look at. The link is in the chat.
Great. Thank you. I've
And
forgotten about that. There's also TAFE also has an introductory class. I can't remember where it is, but yes, TAFE has
yep,
one too.
wonderful. Um, thank you again very much, Heather, for sharing your knowledge and the joy of AI and machines misbehaving badly. Um, I think everyone's enjoyed it today, a lot of information. And at one point, we had 98 participants online, which was really good.
But
So, yeah, the
thank
more
you
we get out there, the more everyone's interested.
Thank you
Um,
so much. And please send me an email if you'd like to chat further. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, Michelle.
Wonderful. And vice versa, Heather, if you want to connect with the public libraries, feel free to reach out and we will happily connect you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. It looks like such a
Wonderful.
great program. I can't wait to see more.
Wonderful. Thank you, Heather. Have a lovely day. Okay, Caitlin, can I hand over to you now to do the lightning talks?
Yes, hi. So my name's Caitlin Tunstall. I'm speaking to you from Wagga Wagga City Library on Wiradjuri country, and I'm a member of the Reference and Information Services Working Group. And we have some library services today who are participating to share their ideas as part of the lightning talks. So 5 to 10 minute talks based on an information-based program that they have run at the library service. We are starting, I believe, with Teresa Locke from Blue Mountains Library. Is Teresa online?
I think we've actually got Luke McMaster on the program.
Oh, okay. I had
Sorry.
him last, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. No, sorry. Go for it then.
we can start with Luke. I'm quite happy to. So Luke is also a member of the Reference and Information Services Working Group from the City of Sydney Library, and he will be talking about their online branch services. Over to you, Luke.
Great, fantastic. I'll just firstly check that you can see the image on the screen and it's working fine.
Yep, I can see that.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks very much. So my name's Luke McMaster. I'm team leader for Library Information Services at City of Sydney Library. And what I'll be focusing on today is our online branch. So it's not so much a program or activity that we run, but actually a fully flagged part of what we provide at City of Sydney. Before I do that, I will acknowledge where I am. I'm coming to you from Customs House Library at Circular Quay. It is Gadigal land, and it is a very significant point of first contact. And I acknowledge that past history and anybody who is with us today who is Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. So I'll just get started. I'll just contextualize what we do within the information services team, which you all probably already know about, but this is just to help think about what this thing called online branch actually is. So what we'll do is just start with that and introduce you to the team. So in the team that we have here at City of Sydney in information services, we have interlibrary loans, we have corporate library, there's information services itself, and of course, the online branch. I'll be touching on it very briefly about how it was conceived and how it's evolved to this point currently, and how we're providing information services beyond the actual physical walls of our libraries. It's all framed within the broader context of how we connect our community with information and knowledge to access the resources they desire. I'll also highlight the practicalities and benefits of offering this type of service. So what exactly is the online branch? It's the library's 10th branch and a non-physical location. As such, it's a frontline service that connects customers with information services. All calls and emails are directed to this team. It's staffed by dedicated team members that handle general to complex requests and is focused on enhancing customers' experience. We manage feedback and we monitor satisfaction across all the libraries. So a bit like the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. We've got a very good oversight of what's happening across all of our branches. We also deliver the online experience and support users to access our services. This in turn allows branch-based teams to focus on delivering face-to-face services. Queries range from anything and everything, from technical support to research and readers advisory and everything in between, which is what you would expect in a library service, of course. Just briefly touching on as well over the past 5 years. Boy, that went quick. So this team for online branch came up as a response to the pandemic in 2020. Just going back to that time, calls came direct to each individual branch, and emails were managed by a rostered group of librarians across the network. Calls bounced from branch to branch, awaiting pickup, resulting in delayed response times, and communication systems were basic. So phone was a phone, and email was email, i.e. Outlook, and we've moved on since then. From 2020, libraries, of course, adapted and rose to the challenge of providing up-to-date information and continued to run services while locations were shuttered. And Online Branch was born to manage the higher volume of correspondence and requests that we were receiving and essentially continuing to offer a service. The benefit of doing so enabled streamlined, consistent, and quality information for the public. We recognise the benefits of the service, and roles were formalised within the information services team. And as of present, it's now a well-established service point. It's a staff point 7 days a week across the opening hours. Incoming inquiries are all fed through a single point of contact. And as a result, we have faster response times with the most up-to-date information delivered by a focused team who's able to deliver that. Communication systems are also more advanced. We're using customer service systems. So we're actually more aligned with customer service now, technologically speaking, than we were before. So we've got a better integration with inquiries, not just for library, but the point of contact when we have members of the community from across the greater council as well, who were coming through to us for assistance. So having gone through that process over the previous years, we have had learnings from developing the online branch service point as an actual information service. One of the most significant benefits, and the point that we're at now, is looking at how we can better tailor our services to the community. And by this, we don't just mean the information that we provide, but how we can use the data and feedback from library users to actually enhance the overall quality of our service. We've framed this input as customer insights from which we can analyze community desires and needs. And we're able to better respond to community requests in turn, because we're able to measure the number and the types of requests that we're receiving. In turn, what we're doing now is looking at what changes we can make using this evidence, because what we want to do is create an even better library experience by being able to anticipate and respond to needs and feed all that back into everything that we do. And that is indeed a lightning talk for Online Branch from City of Sydney. So thank you very much. I'm not sure how long that went for, but if you have any questions, we might be able to go through that if you like.
There is a question there, Luke. It says, what is the headcount in the information services team to meet your online branch customer needs? So I suppose that's how many staff do you have running the online branch?
So there's a general service level of 2 staff, but we generally find that during Monday to Friday, that's quite a good level, and we'll be going down to a single team member on weekends. So we're still able to operate that.
Very good.
It does fluctuate.
What days and hours does the online branch operate? Is it the same
Well,
hours for
all of
no other
our
branches?
all of our we're open from 10 to 6 Monday through Friday, and then 10 to 4 on weekends. So we're accessible across all those times. Interestingly as well, of course, being part of a council that just never sleeps, we are accessible. We're open for business 24 hours a day. So because we're integrated with customer service, somebody could call it midnight. They're having technically they could call it midnight. They've got issues with accessing an ebook or audio book, and they contact us. The customer service call center will pick up the inquiry and then feed it back to us, and then we'll follow up. So there's always assistance. There's always support. Just because we aren't able to answer the inquiry then, it's interesting that somebody can still call up, have a chat, and still feed that through for us to be able to respond. So yeah, but yes, it's technically our library open hours, that's our core hours, Monday to Sunday, 7 days of the week that we're running online branch.
And do you have staff that are on call at other times than when the normal branches aren't open, or is it just responded to when the branch is open?
When the library's open, we're open. We're able to receive calls and we're responding.
Another question, how many questions or inquiries would you receive a day?
It fluctuates, but I think in a financial year, we're definitely over the 20,000 inquiry rate per year. I mean, it all really depends. Weekends are generally quieter. But it definitely, after a public holiday, you might have hundreds of inquiries. They'll over 200 to 300 inquiries you might receive. Otherwise, it really depends. But generally speaking, maybe 21,000, 22,000 inquiries in a single year.
That's quite a comprehensive service. Another question, is there a direct link on the website, or is it funneled through a call center?
Yeah, so we've got a main line. So the way that City of Sydney runs is that if you want support, there's the one phone line. You just call that and press 3. So if you want to speak to us, 9265 933, you call us, you press 3, and it's all coming through to a single point where we're able to assist. If the library's not contactable, it's City does run on a call. We have got a customer service team that runs during 4 hours during the week, but there's also a call center that is also able to take calls. We're not up at midnight, mind you, so we won't be answering those calls then. But hopefully that answers your question. So technically, we're open 24 hours a day, but you can call us and contact us during our core hours when we're open.
I have another question for you, Luke. Are the staff at the online branch librarians?
This is chopped and changed. At the moment, it's generally run by library assistants. But that's not to say that that can't change at all. In the information services team, so my team will actually be increasingly rostered onto the service point itself, and we've got a range of librarians, technicians, and assistants. So it's not necessarily locked into any particular role. I mean, at the end of the day, it depends on what's needed at the time. We do a lot of triaging, so depending on what's needed, say if it's a tour or if it's a research request, we'll triage that. But what's consistent is that we'll generally have correspondence go in and out of a single point, because we're able to much better track and manage the flow of information in and out, which is a lot more consistent as opposed to lots of different people, somebody calling, lots of different branches, trying to answer an inquiry.
That's really great. Is there any other questions for Luke? I can see there's a question on the Q&A, but it seems to be similar to a question that was already answered, which was about how much it is being used by patrons. So I think we've covered that one. No, that's all good. Thanks so much, Luke.
Yeah, if you want to find out how we work, just call us. 265 9333. Press 3 to speak to the library. Give it a go.
A well-practiced response, Luke.
That's right. It's burnt in my memory forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we just had an update to the program that Blue Mountains Library won't be presenting today. So if you want to hear more about Bat Night, you'll have to contact them directly, I think. Next up, we're running a little bit earlier than planned, but I believe Monique is available. So from Goulburn Mulwari Library, talking about their Hobbies Expo, we have Monique Hayes.
Hello there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Monique.
Wonderful. And can you see my screen by any chance?
I can see a computer screen there.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. Still working okay?
Yep.
Wonderful. All right.
All good.
So thank you so much for having me today. My name is Monique from Goulburn Mulwari Library. And I'm here to talk about the Hobbies Expo that we are running. I was a little bit surprised that we were actually asked to talk about the Hobbies Expo because it is quite a very simple event, and we do lots of wonderful and amazing programs and events. But I guess that's the reason why you were asked. It is a very simple event, but it does have a very large impact. So the rationale, sorry, I might just press this. So the reason why we decided to do the Hobbies Expo is because we wanted to include a lot of organisations in our community, and we wanted to showcase what hobbies and activities that they could do that was available in Goulburn. So,
Right, Monique, could you just move to full screen? Is that possible?
oh yeah, full screen. Sorry, how can I do that? Sorry.
I think if you start your presentation.
Just a, how's that? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so we wanted to have all of these communities or organisations in one particular location. The library seemed to be a really obvious place to do that because it's very much a non-threatening environment. People could come in and ask questions, and there was no particular commitment for people to sign up. We started it initially as a Seniors Week event, mainly for seniors and retirees, but that evolved into one that we wanted the broader community to be involved in. So, we wanted people who had just moved to the area, new families, those people who had children, and try to make it like more of a fun family event. So today I'm going to talk about not only why we did it, but how to do it and why we're continuing to do that event every year. So the first thing we needed was stall holders. We wanted all different types of groups to come along. So a bit of research was done by looking at a community directory, Facebook, word of mouth. We put a notice out in our library newsletter to see if anyone was interested. And of course, we did a little Google search as well. So what we wanted to do was make sure these community groups focused on a hobby or could offer a hobby. We didn't just want it to be volunteer opportunities that existed. So we wanted people to walk away and say, this is something I could spend my leisure time doing, and it wasn't just work, doing the barbecue at the Rotary markets every Saturday. We also wanted to make sure that the stall holders that were included, they weren't selling a particular item or a service. Naturally, if it's an organisation that has a membership fee, that's okay. But we didn't, well, like for example, there was a candle making workshop, a group that wanted to be at the Hobbies Expo. And we said, well, that's not really providing anyone with a hobby or activity. It's more selling something. We also encouraged everyone to apply online if they wanted to be a stall holder. And that gave us the opportunity to decipher whether they really fit the criteria of what we're trying to achieve. So the second thing we needed was the venue. So obviously our library was the ideal location for that. We're very lucky. We've got wonderful shelving on wheels, so we could configure the space so that it allowed for, rows of stall holders. And then we just needed tables, tablecloths and chairs, and we were set up and ready to go. And lastly, we needed attendees. So we had the stall holders, we had the venue, we just needed our community to come along. So we had to advertise that and entice them with, of course, food, that always works, and some sort of entertainment. We wanted to be kind of interactive as well. So we had our CWA ladies doing wonderful scones, jam and cream. We had local musicians that provided music throughout the event. So it had, quite a nice feel or ambience about the event. And there were demonstrations. So you can see our ballroom dancers there. We had sword fighting demonstration, we had karate demonstrations. So that really added to the experience. So some examples of stall holders. So we had quite a range of stall holders that attended. So typically you'd expect, garden clubs, art societies, and the weavers and knitters, but we had lots of different groups, like our local theatre groups. We had our local band, pipe band to come along. We had photography club, friendship club, even the church bell ringers. So as you can see there, there's a whole list of different sorts of groups that came along, and that tried to include all different members of the community and hopefully target their interests. So why do we keep doing it? So the benefits are it's relatively easy to organise. It's cost efficient, so there's no appearance fees per se, possibly some catering costs if you wanted to go that way. It's an excellent PR event. So not only does it get other community groups into the limelight, it also got people coming to the library. And as I said there in the last point there, it gave us the opportunity to promote what we normally do every day to people who don't actually come into our library and use our services. So it became such a good reputable event that we decided to repeat it every year. So how did we measure the success? So a lot of the organisations gave us really positive feedback. They've said that they've had members, they gained members at every Hobbies Expo, which is really great. Our stall holder numbers increased, so people heard about it. We first started with about 20 stalls in the first year, and last year we ended up having 30, which made the library quite a busy space. And attendance at the events, so in 2023 we had about 205 people through the doors, which was great, and that increased to up to about 300. I think it was a little bit more this February, but our door count, something went wrong, so we guessed it was about 300, but we definitely had quite a number of people through the doors. So yeah, I'll stop sharing my screen there, but basically that is how the Hobbies Expo ran. It, like I said, very simple event, but does have a large impact, and it's something that lots of libraries could do quite easily. Once you've got your initial group of organisations ready to go, it's pretty much rinse and repeat every year.
That sounds fantastic, Monique. What a great program idea to get the community involved and to provide that information to people in one place, which is, what we're all about in public libraries, to, share the information. And as you said, it's a simple program idea, but they're often the best ones to get the community involved. easy and a good feedback from the groups that participate. Wonderful. We have some feedback from our viewers today. It says, what a lovely idea, lovely photos. Question if Ellen from State Library, great range of hobbies. Wonder if the stalls are placed near the relevant collection areas. Did you, Julie, your members that came along?
We definitely have the Historical Society that make a beeline straight for the local studies area. So yes, definitely they like to be. But it was really nice just to split the different groups up as well, just so that there was a variety of different activities throughout the library. So yeah, it was more about configuring the space so that we could actually get them all in, as opposed to, you know, putting them in certain genres or anything like that.
Yeah, not trying to classify them all.
That's right. Yeah.
Another question for you. Are all the events held inside the library, even the band activities?
Yes, so we're quite lucky. We do have quite a lovely space in the library. The main space is all open, and then the children's room. It is separated by sliding doors and glass windows. So it's a great space to do demonstrations in there. So we had the bagpipes playing, and that was hilarious because it went all the way through the library. But it certainly got people's attention, and you know, they only played for 5-minute stints, but it definitely seemed to pique people's interest. But yeah, it was definitely all held in the library, but those demonstrations were sort of on a rotating basis between sword fighting, bagpipes, dancing, karate demonstrations.
Great. And I guess the good thing about that sort of program is that it's flexible. Like if your library can't hold that amount of people or that space, you could have it outside if you had a space for that to happen.
Yeah, of course.
I just have another question. Did you provide all the tables and things and people just brought along their decorations and extra bits and pieces, or were people bringing along their own market tables and things like that to set up?
Yeah, great question. We basically said you get the table, a tablecloth, and we said 2 chairs. Obviously, if more volunteers came, we gave them more chairs. But everybody bought their own banners and anything to put on their table. So they had flyers. Some people had little giveaways. So, like I said, nothing was to be sold on the day. It wasn't a market as such. It was more of an information session. But people, for example, Landcare, they had little vegetable seedlings to give out, you know, and some people had lollies and various things to give away, which enticed people to come to their stall. But the tables we borrowed from our local show society. So it wasn't too much organisation. We just had to ask our lovely colleagues to help us set up the tables. But other than that, it was quite easy.
Fantastic. Any more questions for Monique from the group? Just checking Q&A there. No, that's all good. Thank you, Monique. Thanks for sharing about your Hobbies Expo.
No worries at all. Thank you for having me.
Okay, next on the program today, thank you everybody who has participated so far. We have Emma Chi-Chen from Queanbeyan Palerang Regional Library Service, who will be talking about their program on AI for seniors. Take it away, Emma.
Hi, everyone. Let me just grab this up. Okay. Can I just confirm that's looking good?
I can't see your screen.
Okay. Let me go out.
There we go. All right, so just black at the moment. Oh, perfect.
Is that better?
That's coming up. Yep, if you just start the presentation and bring it up to, yep, perfect. Thank you, Emma.
Is that good, Caitlin? Yep. Okay.
Yep, everything's coming across well. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you. My name's Emma Seaton. I'm from Queanbeyan and Palerang Libraries. And I'd just like to start off acknowledging the traditional custodians of the Queanbeyan and Palerang area, where I'm coming from today, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We acknowledge the stories, traditions, and living cultures of our First Nations peoples on this land and commit to building a brighter future together. So our AI Adventures for Seniors program was made possible through a $1,000 grant from the Good Things Foundation and was part of Get Online Week, a national campaign to close the digital divide, supporting people to feel safer and more confident online. The grant funded the purchase of new resources for our collection, including up-to-date versions of tech help books. We bought ChatGTP for Seniors and similar guides. It also enabled us to promote the event further and provided a lovely morning tea after the session, giving everyone the chance to socially connect and reflect on their experience. The program was delivered by 2 library staff, myself included. We had 12 participants per session because that's the amount of Chromebooks that we had, and we had iPads there if people would like to use those instead. The session went for 1.5 hours and offered a mixture of information and hands-on practice, noting it was only at a basic level because we're absolutely not experts in the field, but we are sharing information in the hope to make people more aware of AI in a safe space. I'll just go through a little bit of what we shared in the program. So AI is technology created to copy how humans think and solve problems. It can recognize patterns just like we do when we notice trends or similarities. It analyzes large amounts of data quickly, helping make sense of complex information. It learns from experience, meaning it improves over time as it processes more data. And it's built to solve problems, making tasks easier and more efficient for us. AI can potentially make life easier by providing directions on smartphone apps and GPS devices, using real-time data to determine traffic predictions and best routes. It can help you write by suggesting or correcting words as you type, suggesting shows, music, and movies that you might like based on what you've listened to before, analyzing browsing and purchase history to suggest products when shopping online, setting reminders for appointments using virtual assistants like Siri, Google Assistant, and Alexa, and turning your lights off and on through voice commands, which I do at home, automatically adjusting your heating and cooling, starting your vacuum cleaner, which is a new thing to me, and I absolutely love it, and sending you an alert when the doorbell rings. While AI can do some amazing things, it's good to know that it's a great starting point for information, but it's important to verify facts and use it as a helpful guide rather than a definitive source. AI might struggle with nuance, slang, or ambiguous phrasing, meaning it may interpret your question differently than intended. It can hallucinate and generate fabricated information. We've found that in this morning's session, because some models create responses based on probability rather than fact. AI cannot empathize or recognize emotional context, making it difficult to handle sensitive or complex emotional situations. It learns from existing data, and if that data contains societal or cultural biases, it can unintentionally reinforce those biases. And without regular updates, AI can become outdated, so its responses may no longer reflect the latest knowledge or developments. Because our adventure was going to use ChatGTP specifically, we introduced what it was: a conversational tool developed developed by OpenAI that can understand and respond to your questions and prompts in natural language. So it's just like having a conversation. You can ask ChatGTP general questions, such as what will the weather be like, or how to make a particular recipe. It can help you plan your day, remind you of appointments, or even create a to-do list. You can ask it to help plan a holiday, suggest things to do, or map out an itinerary, which is what we did for our adventure. It can help you write a friendly email or a message in seconds. You can ask it for tech help, such as how to change settings on your iPhone or computer, or if you're stuck on what to read or watch next, it can give you personalized suggestions. In AI Adventures for the seniors, we provided a live demonstration of how to use ChatGTP, starting with a simple prompt asking about what we could do here on the weekend. You can see I've asked what can I do in Queanbeyan, and I've given it a budget of $50. It's given me several suggestions, including have a nice meal, have a picnic at the park. Also, please note, we don't have botanical gardens here in Queanbeyan. Or I could try the local markets. I've then asked it for a bit more information about the markets, and it's given me 2 choices that I can look further into. And I now wanted to know what kind of things I can buy at the Queanbeyan markets. It's given me a list of what I can expect, including fresh produce, plants, and handmade goods. All sounds great. Now I need to get there. So you can see it's given me several ways to travel from where I was, including by car, and it's given me the directions to take. By public transport, it's provided the bus number I need to look for. And if I walk, it's given me the time it will take and the directions as well. It was then time for our hands-on activity where everyone created their own adventure. We offered a few suggested prompts that you can see there to help get them started, and then encouraged everybody to go at their own pace. We walked around the room to check in with everyone, answering any questions, and gave them all encouragement. After half an hour, everyone had the chance to share where they were going on their adventure and what they would do when they were there. We also discussed their experience in using the tool, sharing any insights and challenges they encountered along the way. We had people going to the Great Barrier Reef, to South Australia, and even to Egypt. One participant asked ChatGTP how she was going to get to Tasmania, and it confidently told her to drive there from Geelong as if she could just drive across the ocean. It completely skipped the part where she needed to take a ferry. So a great reminder that while AI sounds confident, it doesn't always grasp real-world geography. The feedback we received from the program was all very positive. Everyone loved having the opportunity for the hands-on activity part, and they were all very excited about the potential of AI, and now they felt more confident using it. Here are a few photos of our setup where everybody could see each other and interact with each other. They could also see our big screen for the live demonstration, and you could see we can easily walk around and assist everybody. And lastly, I've used ChatGTP to create all the images for this presentation. For this one, I've asked it to create an image of an AI robot having an adventure with seniors. And as you can see, it looks like they're all having a great time at the beach together on their adventure. So perfect outcome for the program. I've popped my email there if anyone would like to ask any further questions later on. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. That looks like a great program and very fitting considering what Heather talked about earlier today. I'm sure there might be some other libraries that are interested in running an AI program for seniors or other members of their community. Does anyone have any questions for Emma about her AI for Seniors program? No, you've done such a great job, Emma. Everyone's very confident that you've explained everything. And And just checking the questionnaire there. No, all good.
Thank you.
So Emma had an email up on the screen. So, oh, hang on. We do have one question. If you're still there, Emma, how often do you run the program? Is it just a one-off or are you planning to run it again?
We've ran it twice at our Queanbeyan branch, and we also took it to our Braidwood branch as well. So Queanbeyan has Queanbeyan, Bungendore and Braidwood, and we took it out to Braidwood. We have more computers out there as well. So we haven't quite yet got it to Bungendore, but there's a need for it in Queanbeyan, and we're looking now further what else we can do. Do we do something for adults? Do we do something for parents? Yeah, what else can AI do for us? What else can we show people?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's interesting. A lot of the tech programs seem to focus on seniors, but sometimes other parts of the community can also feel a bit left behind at how fast-paced things are. Does anyone else have any questions for Emma? No, we might move on to our next presenter. Thanks so much, Emma, for sharing that program.
Caitlin, we have one more question in the Q&A.
Oh, in the
You
Q&A.
mightn't have seen it,
I
which
did.
is from Jacinta Crane. She wanted to know, did you come up with the program, Emma, or did Good Things have a template of sorts?
Good Things had a lot of suggestions. It was a suggestion to plan a trip on a holiday, so it was from a dot-pointed list. And then I got ChatGTP to help create the program itself. So they do have a variety of things, and they do have that online training, and they've got a great article called What is AI on the Be Connected website that's linked with Good Things Foundation. So it's got some great resources, and they also sent out a lot of material that we could use, posters, bookmarks for the seniors, things like that to support, which was great.
That sounds really good. Sounds like the Good Things have a lot of good information on their website. Okay, up next we have Fairfield City Open Library talking about the Human Rights Leadership Program with Diane Tai and Hugh Kingsley. We'll just wait for Diane to, there we go. We'll just check your mics, guys.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good.
Right. So Diane is going to take the lead.
Okay. I can't hear Diane. Are you, maybe your volume up, maybe? It's not coming through.
Just while we're waiting for Diane to connect, this was a first, Australian first we did with Diane's library. And I think, no, not yet. And it's led to us continuing to do them with schools, and we even now do them with library staff. So they're fun, highly engaging, and of course educational. Have we got any feedback as to what the issue is with Diane hooking in? Ah, we got her.
Oh, yep, we can hear you, Diane. Just turn the volume up a little bit, maybe. I can hear you. It's very faint, though. Yes, a little bit louder. You have any tips?
technical issues.
Here we go. Is that working?
Looks like we're getting there.
We can see your screen fine, Diane, so that's great. Just want to test the volume one more time.
Would it be any help if I fed in some comments while everyone's waiting?
Oh, that sounded good, actually.
That sounded good. Is that better?
It's a lot better. It's still a bit faint, but we can probably proceed with that.
Yeah. Working.
We can see.
Can you hear me? So, my name's Diana, so sorry for some technical issues. I'll be co-presenting today with Hugh Kingsley from the Brain Room, and we'll be talking about this stroke fit forum. So the idea to hold the conference Albury 2022. At the time, what this would look like, just thought that important, and after a lot of this, decided to find this as a recognizing that you some of the taking out. It was picked to mental health schools and school children. I support started from grade 9 holding social studies and studies all of those involved in and other supported like there's a video from library
Sorry, Diane, could you just check where your microphone's connected to? I think if you click into where the mute button is on the arrow, just check where the sound's going.
Is this better?
Yes, that's better.
Oh, sorry. Fairfield City Open Libraries was proud to be the first library of its kind to host the Student Leadership Forum, setting precedent for libraries as active spaces for civic education and youth empowerment. The event was hosted at Whitlam Library and facilitated by Hugh Kingsley from the Brainery, together with the Human Rights Commissioner, Lorraine Finlay. 6 local high schools attended the forum with 125 students and teachers participating. There was a fantastic contribution from all students, with many providing excellent suggestions on how human rights could be embedded in everyday life, and more specifically within their schools. The forum provided a platform for students to deepen their understanding of contemporary human rights issues through hands-on learning using the Human Rights Game, a UN-approved learning tool. Students had the opportunity to express their views on human rights issues and presented their ideas on how their schools could implement human rights principles to Lisa Porter, the Director of Educational Leadership for Fairfield, and Julie PC, CEO student of Health and Safety at the New South Wales Department of Education. Young people are powerful and dynamic. They have the potential to disrupt inertia and be among the most creative drivers for social change. Our aim was to create a safe and open space for them to explore and discuss human rights. The Human Rights Game is an educational board game for students aged 10 plus, based on the UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights and its 30 articles. It explores the 3 pillars of Universal Declaration of Human Rights with the key themes like freedom, equity, and dignity. This is done through interactive storytelling, problem solving, and discussion. The game encourages empathy and respect, helping reduce bullying by raising awareness, a great tool for involving students in shaping expected behaviours in schools. In our session, we used the digital version of the game, which sparked thoughtful discussion, especially around Article 15, which led to meaningful debate among students. We were unanimously impressed with the level of engagement from this group. They spoke eloquently and passionately. They were respectful, insightful, and used real-life experiences to back up their views. They were also witty, entertaining, and clearly had a great time. The forum was highly engaging and a lot of fun. At one point, the students didn't even want to part with the microphone. And this is a social media post from one of the participating schools reflecting on the day. From an AI perspective, the forum also raised thought-provoking points. In human rights, certain principles guide us. Many of them are well established and technology can support some of our decision-making. However, human decision-making and judgment remain central to upholding human rights. The Human Rights Game implicitly highlights which decisions might be appropriate for AI to assist with and which should remain in the realm of human judgment. Empathy and compassion are core to human rights, which are qualities that AI cannot replicate. I'll now hand you over to Hugh from the Brainery, who will speak about connections between human rights, AI, and STEM in libraries. Thank you, Hugh.
Thanks, Diane. Thanks for the warm welcome, and it's great to be here. One of the things, before I go into detail, I'd like to make the point that I'm an educationalist, and there's 2 key themes that stand out for me when it comes to AI, and those are critical thinking and trust. So I think we need to we need to sharpen our abilities as critical thinkers and not automatically believe whatever we say. And in the same token, with trust, we have to redefine trust in relation to AI. Nonetheless, how did it all come about? So the idea to do the game came about from my colleague in the US, Andy Cherney. She gave me a call and said, Andy was a developer of educational resources in the States. And she said to me, Hugh, I've got an idea. So we started talking. I then went away and thought about her idea, and I came up with the following questions. Where do children and teens learn about these things? And these are some of the things that went through my mind. Based on the mind map you see there, I wrote a letter to the Director General of the UN in New York. And I was thrilled to see within, I think, about 5 working days of me sending it that I got the fabulous response you can see. And based on that response and a couple of visits to the UN and meeting with their International Director of Publications, I made the decision that I would do the project myself. So as you can see in the next slide, Andy, my co-author, and I made it to the UN with the game, and we were very proud to have achieved this outcome. Now, in the next slide, I'm asking the question, how does AI and human rights relate to public libraries? And to answer this important question, I consulted with some experts in the field of AI and human rights. And here are some of the responses I got. Christian Gutmann, PhD, is the Executive Director of the Nordic AI Institute and a strategic advisor on AM and quantum technologies. And Christian said public libraries are guardians of knowledge, access, and equity. As they adopt AI tools, it is vital that they do so through the lens of human rights, ensuring transparency, accountability, and digital inclusion for all users. Libraries should not only adopt AI, but should also demystify it for the public, helping citizens navigate a future shaped by technology and values. Christian went on to make some suggestions, which are, firstly, frame your prompts explicitly, e.g., summarize how AI might affect freedom of expression with references to relevant Universal Declaration of Human Rights articles, or what does the UDHR say about privacy and how does that relate to AI surveillance in public spaces? And secondly, developing a fine-tuned or prompt-anchored assistant in a custom GPT or chatbot setting, e.g. for libraries. Preload a summary of the UDHR and define mappings between AI issues and specific rights. This way, the assistant will consistently ground responses in human rights. I then turned to Professor Leon Sterling, who was the Dean of Engineering at Swinburne Universities. And Leon had the following comments. He said, libraries have been an indispensable resource in preserving the world's knowledge in the form of important manuscripts and documents. It is essential that libraries maintain that role. Technology has helped libraries disseminate access to knowledge more widely. Libraries need to be a master of libraries need to be the master of not technology. A quote I've used previously is, AI is a good servant, but a dangerous master. And I think it's important to repeat that. AI is a good servant, but a dangerous master. Public libraries make material accessible to the broad public. It is important that access in the library interest and not driven by entrepreneurs acting in their own financial issues or political ideologies. He went on to suggest, in the next slide, artificial intelligence has made great progress in generating text and providing natural language as interfaces to knowledge. However, the artificial intelligence systems are not transparent. Libraries have an important role to ensure that knowledge and documents are preserved in the public interest. Libraries can also play a role in training people as how to best establish who said what and when, and help provide a context for what was said. An acute one-liner, libraries don't hallucinate. And I think Emma made that comment in the previous presentation. Okay, so why not ask ChatGPT? And ChatGPT's answer was to ensure your library patients receive AI responses aligned to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. When using ChatGPT or similar tools, you can take a few proactive steps. Now, recognising we're running short for time, I won't read them now, but we will make the slides available. And of course, having a Human Rights Commissioner in Australia, I thought it important to reach out to Lorraine Finlay. And Lorraine went on to say, as public libraries embrace AI, we need to make sure technology amplifies access, not inequality, upholding the right to knowledge, privacy, and dignity for every individual. In the age of AI, public libraries remain vital spaces where technology can be used to unite, not divide communities, ensuring that every person has a voice, a place, and equal access to the tools that will shape our future. And now handing over to questions, I just want to reiterate that if you'd like a copy of the slides, you can contact me at that email address. And again, if I hone in on what I think is really important when it comes to AI and human rights, it's critical thinking, and trust. We need to work on these two key skills. Now I'd like to hand over to questions, please. While I'm waiting for questions, a quick comment that, as I said earlier on, we can also offer these forums for staff in public libraries if they would like them.
Thanks, Hugh and Diane. Does anyone have any questions? Nothing popping up yet in the chat. I think we're all good. Thanks so much for sharing about your program today. So great to hear what different public libraries are doing. And that's what the lightning talks are all about, to, you know, connect and collaborate. And it's great to see, you know, Fairfield with the Brainery in that partnership. How did you guys connect with each other?
I've been working with Fairfield Libraries for some years, and Holly McPherson and Holly from the library and I had a conversation I think at one of the the Switch conference, that's right. And during that conversation, she said she was really keen to take a risk and try this. And this was the first time we had set this up as a forum rather than a classroom play. And to her credit and the team that supported it, was a huge success.
Fantastic. It's great to see, you know, those sorts of partnerships taking place in the community and sharing different ideas and getting that information out there to the general public on all different levels. So one question from Jacinta. Did Hugh facilitate at Fairfield, and what age would the game work with?
Oh, that's
You on hand for the program, Hugh?
That's an excellent question. Yes, I co-facilitated with Commissioner Lorraine Finlay, so we did it together. And I think from memory, was it, Diane, they were Year 9 students? Was that correct?
Year 9 and Year 10 students.
Yeah, Year 9 and
from
Year
6
10.
schools.
Yep. And sorry, the question was age group. The game has two sets of playing cards, one set for ages 10 to 14 and another set for ages 15 plus. So basically, ages 10 plus can be involved in the game.
Fantastic. We might have missed some of that detail with the sound issues at the start, but yeah, thanks for sharing that through again, Diane. That's great.
And in a school classroom, you would typically have a set of 4 games and the teacher becomes the facilitator. So the students play their own game in roughly groups of 6. But when we do a forum, you know, where we've got 100 plus people, we use a digital version of the game.
Okay, that's good to know. So there's a little bit of flexibility there, depending on maybe also the size of the library service that you have and what you could run the program for.
And one other quick comment too, please. Should any of the libraries decide they want to run their own, subject to Lorraine Finlay's commitments, she will gladly come and co-facilitate.
Well, that's good. That's interesting comment there from you, Hugh. I'm sure some libraries would be interested in finding out what Lorraine's availability is for that. Any other questions? All right, I think we might be ready to wrap up the lightning talk segment of the program. Thanks, Hugh, and thanks, Diane. And thanks to all the other library services and library staff who have shared your programs and ideas today. It's great to hear from everybody. And I'll pass back to Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, everyone, for presenting today. Our final presentation today is Ellen Forsyth, and she's going to talk about a pilot study that is being held called Questions That People Are Asking New South Wales Public Libraries. Ellen, right to hand over to you.
Yes, and realised that I couldn't unmute myself when I was screen sharing. So I've just unshared and I will share so that that all works. And Michelle, can you please confirm that you're only seeing a single slide and not any trailing slides, please?
Only seeing the single side, Alan.
Perfect. Thank you. What questions are people asking at your library? Now, this might sound obvious, but trust me, it's not. In a discussion late last year, the reference, the Reference Steering Committee wanted to look at some big picture ideas about reference and information services. Most of the people were new to the committee, and there are opportunities to think about where to explore. This question was asked by one of the then committee members who went and undertook a literature review. This found that while people talk about the kinds of questions and make assumptions about them, the exact answer to the question on screen is not known. There's actually been very little research undertaken about this for libraries anywhere in the world. It was decided to progress this research as what was found would be helpful for the Reference and Information Services Steering Group in planning for the future. Dr. Anita Dewey from Charles Sturt University has become involved. This has meant that the project is subject to Charles Sturt University ethics requirement, and we have the expertise of Dr. Dewey to assist us. In February this year, at the same time that many of you are undertaking inquiry completion rate collecting, two public libraries, one in Sydney and one in regional New South Wales, use Gimlet, an online data collecting tool, to document their inquiry completion rate data with added information. At this stage, I won't be naming the libraries. The exact questions were recorded. Tags were added for the inquiry completion rate fields, and this shows the combined community information data in summary form. This shows the number of questions by day of week and time of day. The second row of dots from the top shows that Monday mornings is a really popular time to ask questions. Dr. Anita Dewey has started the data analysis for the pilot data. I'm looking at some work on this, looking at questions too. There'll be an information session for 1 hour on the 4th of June at 10 a.m. The Zoom booking link has been put in the chat and has been sent to various email lists. We're looking for more public libraries, small and large, to document for 1 week all the questions asked in their library service. The timing on this next phase of research will either be November 2025 inquiry completion rate week or the February 2026 one. It would be preferred if your library is already undertaking data collection using the inquiry completion rate method, as there would be an existing base to build on, but you would be eligible to express interest even if you're not. For libraries which are not single site, I have branches, we would want every branch at a council participating in the data collection, as this would provide a wider range of data. Note that this means that a whole regional library does not necessarily need to participate, but that individual councils could. We'll be looking for libraries willing to write down, using Gimlet, every single question asked for a week. It's not impossible, as two library services have already managed this, but accuracy and detail are important. And this is not about cherry picking the data, but about documenting every question. And note, while the form shows the question is optional, there are a lot of things we could change on that form, but we couldn't change that text. And this shows some of the questions. Think about if your library would like to be involved in the data collecting. This is not a formal call for involvement today. This is providing some early information, so you can think about if your library would like to be involved. Next steps, if you're considering it or are curious, book for the information session for 1 hour on the 4th of June at 10 a.m. There will be a presentation in more detail at the start of that session, then a question and answer time. We do suggest having a video and microphone for that, but it can work by chat as well. It could be more helpful having more than one person from your library at the session. And coming along to the information session is not seen as a commitment to participate in the research. You're welcome to come along for the information. That's all. Any questions?
We've just checking. Something popped up in the queue and in the chat, but just thank you very much. Very helpful, Ellen. So yeah. I think we'll
It's
answer
actually
everyone's
a fun tool. Yes, we'll answer everyone's
questions
questions
next
on the 4th of June. Or come up with a
Well,
whole lot of new questions.
A big thank you to everyone who attended today. These presentations will be available on the Reference and Information Services Group wiki in a couple of days. Watch out for that space and please share with your co-workers, would be appreciated. Thank you everyone for attending. Have a lovely afternoon and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.